What is a hill you're willing to die on? Butter isn't the seasoning. I know most people are looking at that sentence and thinking, who the fuck thinks butter's a seasoning? My mom. We've gotten into actual arguments over this where she said, and I quote, "The Oxford Dictionary is wrong, Julia Child is right. That sizes are small, medium and large, not venti, not gotta have it, none of that horse shit. You have a small one, a large one, and the one in the middle is a fucking medium. If you are on any walkway, and someone is coming straight at you, you move to the right, or give them space to their right. In the US, maybe reversed in left-hand drive countries. If you are walking towards me and try to outflank me to my right, I will walk into you." Once when I was little, somewhere around 3rd grade, there was a game we played in gym called Letters. I don't remember the rules exactly, but it was a type of Scrabble thing where the gym was split into 2 quadrants, one for each team. Letters were scattered around the gym and the goal was to retrieve words from the enemy side and use them to spell out words. Anyways, everything was going fine. We had a really random assortment of letters until I looked at all of them and realized I could spell out the word xylophone. Cool. I arranged all the letters into place when suddenly it felt like 30 children were attacking me with shouts about how I spelled it wrong. It's xylophone. They shouted, their cries falling on deaf ears as I determinedly pushed back much bigger kids than me in an attempt to keep my spelling pristine. It was a battle. It was a war. It was a trip to the principal's office when I kicked a guy in the shins who called me an idiot. I have no idea what was running through my little 3rd grade brain, but I guess for some reason I decided to be stubborn enough to hold my ground. My last memory of this event is me walking out of the principal's office and talking to my friend. I was telling him about the event and dramatically describing how I had definitely 100% totally absolutely demolished a group of 9-year-olds in combat. He nodded, impressed, and then proceeded to say, "Man, that's crazy. Everyone knows xylophone is spelled with a Z. There would be less abortions if women had better access to birth control." This is not an argument over whether abortions are right or wrong, just that birth control results in fewer unwanted pregnancies. Birth control should be easy to get. As an example, I live in California. I'm 36 and married with good insurance and a good job and still couldn't get an ID without jumping through hoops for months. Why is this so hard? Classic rock is a subgenre of rock created between the mid-1960s through the early to mid-1980s. It is not a radio format for aging rock songs. If you answer a question on Amazon saying "I don't know" or something along those lines, you're a fucking idiot. People keep saying that these emails you get from Amazon to get you to answer these questions are worded in such a way that makes it seem like you specifically have been asked, and people therefore think they have to answer. But that's bullshit. If you're dumb enough to think that you're the only person to receive that question when thousands of people have purchased that same product, and if you truly think that an answer like "I don't know" is not worse than not replying at all, you probably struggle to breathe and walk at the same time and don't belong in the internet. I think that our society is creating mental illness. We put so much pressure on people that I think it's messing people up in the head. I mean, there's no place for people who just aren't good at things, especially academics. If you can't hack it, there's no options for you, and I think the kids know this. They're so worried about winning the competition to survive that they don't have real interests and hobbies and so on. And even afterwards it doesn't stop. You have to worry about layoffs and so on. You can't just work in a factory and be fine. Probably on the mountain that I have a view of from my bedroom. It is really pretty there, and since it is a forest, I could be good food for the insects there. People who make TV shows romanticizing bad things such as suicide, self-harm, toxic relationships etc. should be put of a job. Proper research and respect should be put with these topics. Failure in doing so will only cause wrong messages to be sent out. That's one of my hills I die on. I grew up in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The view from my childhood home is beautiful. Sitting in a chair on the porch, looking over the mountains during sunset, I think that would be a pretty good place to die. Funny enough you should ask, doctor at the end. So this last week I actually said this exact statement at work last week. So I work in film. Right now I'm a PA. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a grunt job where you are the assistant for the whole department you are under. You run errands, answer emails, get lunch, coffee, other random stuff that is asked of you, and you grocery shop for the office. This is what is important to the story. I have been a PA for going on 2 years now, and this is my 4th show and 3rd big name show. So I'm on a new show, literally just started 3 weeks ago. So it's been a lot of setting up the office, buying furniture and stocking the kitchen. Our accounting department has just been difficult from day one, not giving us money to buy what we need, being bitchy about reimbursements. We literally had no production money for the first week and we're using all our own money to buy shit we needed, and nickeling and diming us for everything. Yet they won't give us a budget, so we have no idea what is appropriate to spend and what isn't until we are getting yelled at. Anyway, so I went grocery shopping last week for the office as 90% of us had finally started and we had no food in our kitchen. I got all the basics to keep humans running: snacks, chocolate, coffee, paper plates, napkins, cups, sodas, milk, all the non-dairy milks you could imagine, etc etc etc, you get it. I also bought some female sanitary products, tampons and pads. This is something I do on every show as it's nice to have them in the office bathrooms, especially because we have a lot of women in my department. In fact, I usually go all out for both sexes' bathrooms, with many deodorants, mouthwash, wipes etc. We're working 12+ hours days, so it's nice to have some options of freshening up. Never had a problem with it and always got a lot of appreciation from my crews for it. But I just started with the tampons as this trip had already rung me up pretty high cost-wise. Well, when I turned in my receipts to accounting all men BTW, I got a phone call. You bought tampons on the production card? Yeah, so? Was that approved by your department head? Yeah. I buy sanitary products on every show I work on. No, okay. And I thought that would be the end of it. Nope. I got a very condescending email a few hours later from accounting saying my department head on it about how this was not an approved purchase and that they did not deem these products as a necessity and therefore I needed to pay back the $40 I had seen on them. Here is who I can make the check out to. Signed, accounting. I saw Ed. I got up from my desk and told my department head to check her email. She did. Man, I have never seen her move that fast. She basically ran out of offices and over to accounting, fuming the whole way. She came back pretty quickly because the accounting department head was conveniently already gone for the day. I told her in no uncertain terms was I paying them back, and that was a hill I would more than happily die on. So I got to go home that night not knowing if I'd have a job tomorrow over $40 worth of tampons. I'm never one to be a raging feminist, but something about a man telling me that tampons and pads were not a necessity for an office with over 15 women in it. That just hit me wrong, especially since the other $500 worth of junk food, plates, cleaning supplies, office supplies and expensive teas the designer wanted by name were not questioned. In the end I was not fired, and I did not have to pay them back, but was told not to do it again. And people tell women we're being overdramatic when we say our needs are treated as less than in a workplace. Fucking fuck. Doctor, bought tampons on the production CC among other office supplies, was told I had to pay it back as it was not a necessity. Jussie Smollett is a lying sack of shit and clearly lied about being attacked. The fact he doubles down on his innocence and plays the victim makes steam blow out of my ears. That dude needs to serve prison time. Toad is the best character to play in Super Mario Bros. 2. Luigi is a great jumper but hard to control. The princess is good at soaring but she sucks at picking up vegetables. Mario is sort of meh. Toad makes up for his mediocre jumping with fast movement and vegetable picking speed. On that same note, Super Mario Bros. 3 greater than Super Mario Bros. Greater than Super Mario Bros. 2. Semi-trucks should not be allowed to overtake each other on the highway. They drive like 1 km/h faster than the other guy. The entire maneuver takes 5 minutes. They hold up all the traffic and it's really dangerous. And for what? After overtaking, they just hold the same speed. Anyway, it does nothing. Stop it. Medical teams should be led by physicians, and legislation and lobbies that suggest otherwise are willfully putting patients in danger to save money. NPs and PAs do not have equivalent training and shouldn't be considered equal when providing care. The use of the term provider to obscure the actual training of the person providing care adds confusion for patients who, reasonably, don't understand the different training options. That we as a society need to normalize open, candid, and informative conversations about drug use regardless of the substance. Using drugs does not mean you have a problem or are an addict. For millennials and Gen Z, drug use is an extremely salient part of life, whether it's smoking weed, drinking, tripping, using MDMA, or even occasional hard drug use experimentation. The primary danger of drug use rises from ignorance about drug interactions, dosing, and drug purity. I have an naloxone kit in case I see anyone noting at a party or on the stoop outside my building, and bought a full reagent testing kit and openly tell people that they can come over and test their drugs whenever they want, for free, so that they can make informed decisions about their use. You'd be shocked by how often cocaine is actually methadone or amphetamine, or how much ketamine is actually MXE. If you want to use those drugs and you know how to practice harm reduction, cool, just do your research, know yourself, know your substance, establish ground rules and a game plan with your friends for drug use, and know how to recognize and intervene in situations where drug use becomes dangerous, problematic, or on the path to addiction. We also need to educate people on prescription medications about drug interactions that can be potentially fatal without having patients worried their psychiatrist is going to blacklist them for admitting to occasional drug use. For example, taking MDMA while on an SSRI can result in serotonin syndrome, which is potentially fatal. Mixing Adderall with other stimulants increases the likelihood of heart attack or stroke, and one of the biggest ones, benzos. I am seeing people taking Xanax and Klonopin at alarmingly regular rates at parties, while drinking heavily, but people are not aware of the synergistic depressant effects on the respiratory system and CNS, or that blackouts, date rape, memory loss, etc. are all amplified risks when mixing these substances. I am glad we are wising up to the opiate epidemic, and I have seen opiates become heavily demonized from a social perspective, but this same fear of death and addiction is not applied to the more addictive and dangerous drugs, both for addiction and withdrawal, that are in the benzodiazepine family. The silence and stigma around drug addiction is more harmful than drugs themselves, and we need to start adopting a harm reduction approach, not abstinence. My hill to die on is that it doesn't matter what side someone puts the TP on the spindle thing. It's easier to take it off and set it somewhere. I've lived 29 years without having it on the damn spindle. Killing a dog, cat or any kind of pet type animal off in a story just to prove how evil your villain is shit and lazy writing, and will make sure I won't give your story a chance past that point, even if I'm pretty sure I'd like the book, show, whatever. Looking at you, Jojo. I see people sending emails, memos, documents, etc. every single day with other people's names spelled incorrectly, calling Susie Sussy and things like that. Spelling a person's name correctly is important. One of my first lessons in business was me writing a memo, CCing my boss on it and sending it out only to have her call me and say, by the way, there are two N in my last name. And there was the time I got an Employee of the Year award and they misspelled my last name on it. If you send something out, print something off, have something engraved and don't spell the name right, you are telling that person you aren't worth the time it takes for me to look up your name. I used to think I had the integrity to die on the hill fighting for some cause I believed in. That is, until I fought hard against corruption within a company, won the battle, saved a lot of people's jobs, but lost the war. The repercussions not only hurt me financially, but also made me question why I bother. These days, the only hill I would die on is one where I am protecting my family. Beyond that, nothing on this planet is worth dying for anymore. Doing things in a way because that's how we always do them is not a valid reason. It can be because it's the best way, in which case it should be clear why it's superior to alternatives, or explaining the benefits should be the argument to do it the way. It can be that the switching over is too hard, either in terms of learning new things, training, resources, time, so on. It's an annoying reason, but an important one, and should be kept in mind to sense check if it's finally time to change. It might be that the improvement is so small or task so infrequent that it really doesn't matter. In a sense, any time spent thinking about the problem is not going to pay off. Easy to see and confirm. It can be that the person has irrational preference to a certain way, such as adding things up by hand, as he innately trusts his actions more than any automated method. I don't agree with this reason, but it should be counted as an argument, if the person is willing to admit this is the case. But we always did it this way is not a reason. It's not an argument I agree with, not one I disagree with. It's just a statement of the past alone. It should not have any bearing on how the task should be done in the future. It's an equivalent of a because I said so argument, one that tries to assert authority instead of supporting its case. Don't review a fucking recipe if you changed half of the ingredients in which that the recipe is no good. Fuck me, that is my biggest irritation. Or giving a 5-star review saying I haven't made this yet but it looks good. When at baggage claim, you stand 3 feet away. When you see your bag, approach the turnstile. What the fuck is that thing even called? Anyway, stay away from the thing until your bag is there. Approach the thing, get your shit and get out. Adults who don't understand the difference between your / their, our, are unintelligent and it's unacceptable. This is basic grammar, and these words are not interchangeable. These aren't some obscure words that aren't used often, either. We're talking about some of the most commonly used words in the English language, and you should have a full understanding of this before you've even finished elementary school. The same applies for adults who use an apostrophe s inappropriately. It's not "there are penguins over there." The apostrophe gives it a totally different meaning. However, if you're not a native English speaker, you're an exception to this rule, as you obviously learned it later on in life, and languages are far easier to learn as a child. Superman powers beats Batman abilities / tech. The idea that Superman would need to physically come close to you to kill you is ridiculous. Laser eyes, super breath, heck, just fling them into space. Just look at Homelander in The Boys. If Superman was a psychopath like Homelander, Batman would lose. The Oxford comma. It matters. Example, invited guests included the prostitutes, Stalin and Churchill. Without the Oxford comma, Stalin and Churchill become an appositive phrase, renaming prostitutes. In other words, they are the prostitutes. If you include the Oxford comma after Stalin, then he and Churchill become part of a series of three. They attend a party with the prostitutes. It changes the meaning. The Oxford comma matters.